I think he showed the world. I might be the wrong person to ask on this. It's going to, well, what, see?
No, that was just,
okay,
I'm sorry.
No problem.
That's like your fake phone call.
He gets
What?
the title.
I gotta go.
He gets the title. That's he gets
the title of
best player in the world. He's earned it.
That being said,
listen, we said going in the playoffs, there's a handful of guys that were the lone superstar on a team. If they led their team to a championship, with LeBron, the reigning best player in the world, not getting his team to the playoffs and dealing with an injury this year, they would get the title. He was on the list. Harden was on the list. Giannis was on the list. You could have argued Embiid was on the list. And he did it. And he did it going through Embiid, going through Giannis, going through Steph. KD didn't, KD, unfortunately for him, he was on the list where he could have done it through super extraordinary play, and he was doing that, but then he hurt himself, and then he really hurt himself. So, yes, if the title was up for grabs, and we all said it was, Kawhi went out and earned it. Now, if you're asking me, who do I think's better, LeBron or Kawhi, I still think it's LeBron.
Who do you think's better, Kawhi or KD?
Well, I have no idea about KD now. I mean, KD, what KD was or what he will be, because we don't know what he will be. If you're asking me this, who would I rather have for the next 5 years, Kawhi or KD? That's easy as can be. That's Kawhi, because I know what he'll be. So your guys, went out and did it. Well, I didn't think he could, and he went out and did it.
This is the thing. It's very, very strange now, because let's look where Kawhi was last year. We're like, man, is he ever going to come back from the quad injury? Look where KD was last year, on the top of the basketball world. Second finals MVP. LeBron was a better player in the finals. He was amazing. He's deciding to go in free agency. LeBron tears his groin this year. KD snaps his Achilles. All right? And now we got Kawhi among them. He's the only one healthy. I just think it's an odd year. I think that Kawhi has earned the rep that we thought was going to be for Giannis, because if it was Giannis, we would be beating the drum. I don't think Nick would be saying LeBron's a better player than Giannis. I don't think he'd be saying
Giannis had done what Kawhi
I don't think he'd be doing that. The Nick Wright that I know, he was on the Giannis train. It got stopped by Kawhi. But right now, and because of Kawhi's ability on the defensive end, Kawhi Leonard's the best basketball player in the world. If KD was healthy, if he didn't come back and snap it, I would be like, listen, this is hard for me to decide. I would be like, KD is the best basketball player. Going into the playoffs, I thought KD was the best basketball player. Now, he loses by default. But if he would have stayed out of the series and he was healthy going into free agency, I would be sitting here saying, even though Kawhi won the title, KD, and what I saw, KD is the best basketball player.
KD was playing the best basketball of his life. So when he could have earned the title, I don't want to say by default, but by what he did leading up to the calf injury. Because the calf injury, we don't worry about lingering effects. We don't worry about, will he be the same guy next year?
But Achilles.
The Achilles, it's not only will he be the same guy, it's that he's going to miss basketball for over a calendar year. The way the reports are right now, though, Steve Kerr said it last night, he's like, Kevin going to be out next season. And so, I mean, I know he doesn't want to be out all of next season, but if you're out next season, you're actually out 15 months. You're out from June of 2019 until October of 2021. Of 2020, pardon me, but that's 15 months. So for KD, it's a tough spot, but Kawhi's done everything you could ask him to do. If Kawhi hasn't earned the title, the fake title that I love talking about so much, then it wasn't eligible for him to earn. Because he did everything you could possibly want him to do. Averaged almost a 30-point double-double, led his team to the championship, won finals MVP, was spectacular against the guy who's going to win league MVP defensively in the previous round. He did everything you could possibly ask him to do, led his team to 3 wins in Oracle. So he's earned it, even if my eye test might feel a little different.
See, what did you make of Steph missing the potential game winner there?
I mean, he just missed a shot. He missed a shot that he typically can make. Steve Kerr ran a great set. They run a back screen for Draymond, throw it to the corner, and then they run a back pick for Steph, allow him to loop around to be able to get. That's an open look in NBA. And Steph typically is going to knock it down. So they had an opportunity, but that don't mean they were going to win the game. There was 8 seconds on the clock. There's still a lot of time to beat, but they did give themselves an opportunity. If you look at how everything was supposed to play out, they weren't supposed to win this game. Man, they lost KD in Game 5. They lose Clay in Game number 6. And Steph didn't play a great game. Man, this was almost like college. I mean, this was I thought I was looking at college at the end, where they were trying to take the ball off his hand, they were trapping him, and they were challenging the other Warriors. But Steve Kerr and the staff, you got to give them credit. They did give themselves an opportunity to force a game number 7, Nick.
And listen, I'm not going to kill Steph for that final shot. The game as a whole is a different story, and I'll get to that in a second. But that final shot, first of all, was a brilliant out-of-bounds play Steve Kerr and Mike Brown drew up. It looked like the ball potentially could go out of bounds. You saw Serge Ibaka kind of pause and look at it, which is exactly what they wanted to have happen because it gave Serge gets lost for a second. Steph gets a good look. Now, they didn't need a 3, but they drew it up for a 3 anyway because they thought they could get a cleaner look at it, and they did get a clean look at it. And when Steph says you'll live with it, you will live with it. You got a good shot, you live with the results. What's tough for Steph is he's had to live with a bunch of these with none of them ever going in. He's now shot 9 of these in the playoffs, final 24 seconds to take the lead. He's 0 for 9. And he's shot, I think, 6 of them in the final 10 seconds, 0 for 6.
And the irony to it all, even though he's 0 for 9, no one would say Steph's not a clutch player.
100%. And so that's why I said I'm not going to kill him at all for the shot. Those are tough shots, man. Like, game-winning shots in the playoffs are tough shots in any circumstance.
I got to take you back a little bit. You got to – that's a tough shot for a normal. That's not a tough shot for Steph Curry.
But even Steph Curry, the greatest three-point shooter we've ever seen.
That shot right there is not a tough shot for him.
It's not a tough shot, but the odds of making it are 45%. You know what I mean? 50, we want to call it 50%. My point is...
He is the greatest shooter that's ever dribbled or shot a basketball.
Right, and for his career, he's around 40% on threes. That's even if we're going to say that's an easier than usual 3, which I don't think it is. Like, so even when you're a great three-point shooter, it's one of the downsides, too, in a game-winning situation when you have to shooting a 3, is that a great three-point shot, unless it's wide open set, it's more likely than not you're not going to make it. But for the game... I said yesterday, man, they needed 85 points, from Steph, Clay, and somebody else. The somebody else was Iguodala. He gave you 22. Clay was sensational with 30. Draymond, I know he had a bunch of turnovers. He had almost half the team's rebounds, almost half the team's assists. 11 points, 18 rebounds, 13 assists. Of their big 4, the guy who had the worst game was Steph. Of their big 4, the guy who didn't hold up his end last night more than anybody was Steph. And that, to me...
I debate you on that one. Draymond with 8 turnovers was worse than Steph.
But Dre did everything else for him.
There's a reason why, because they're offensively challenged, what Steph had to do was going to be monumental. Man, they're basically only guarding 2 people all night. That's why Iggy's able to get off. But Draymond, in his inability to be able to complete the offense or run the offense, to me, he played worse than Clay. And he gave up the big drive to Pascal at the end. Tried to go for a steal. Pascal gets the easy bunny.
But I want to ask you about Steph. So Steph Curry is now 3-2 in the finals. No finals MVP. Where does that leave his legacy? Does it impact his legacy?
It impacts his legacy in this regard. We talked before the series, if they win, if he wins finals MVP, it elevates him too. I don't think this series drops him any. I don't think he all of a sudden goes backwards. But he had a chance to, at the end of the series, be a no-doubter top 20 all-time player, arguably in the top 15. He would have every box you would need to check on the resume. Now he's still missing the one. And they lost this finals in a similar way they lost the 2016 finals, which was in the deciding game, Steph Curry didn't play very well. He was 6 for 9 in Game 17 in 2016. He was 6 for 17 last night. Both those games, he doesn't really get his three-point shot going. Like, that hurts him. And it doesn't downgrade him from where he was, but it's more the opportunity cost of what it could have been for him.
Yes, because it was set up for him, and you had talked about Steph potentially being a top NBA player. Now, can he get that without being a finals MVP?
Right.
And this is what it does, Jenna. It doesn't make you go down, but it makes people have to look at and explain, oh, he was in 5 finals? Wow, really? Which one of our great players have we had in 5 finals and they weren't the MVP? And they won 3 of them.
None of them.
So there you go. So now he's in a class of he's one of one. And where does it sit as far as NBA history? That's up to those who like to be able to make these lists and everything. But to me, it makes it hard for him to be a top all-time NBA player, top 10 all-time, if he's not an MVP in the finals.
How much wiggle room is there for him to, I don't know, raise up in your eyes a little? If he has to do everything by himself basically next year with no KD and no Clay. Is that going to change your minds at all?
But so this is what's the killer for
It's going to
him.
be like James Harden. What do we care? You don't win no championships? Don't nobody care?
And this is what's the killer for him. Assuming KD leaves, which we assume he will, Clay's hurt, the team's aging, is Steph Curry going to be in the NBA Finals again? Is he going to have a chance to fill in the one blank on his resume? That is now more up in the air than ever before.
And they had the opportunity. He had the opportunity. KD wanted to get the 3 with LeBron. Steph had an opportunity to get 4 and go up front in front of LeBron. Man, you have to be able to explain how many times he was there, how many times they won, and why. Why didn't Steph, for 2 weeks, in 5 opportunities, for 2 weeks, why couldn't he be the best player in the world? That's for the experts like Nick Wright and people to explain.
It's a tough one for him, and it's just he's such a great player.
Right.
And I thought he had the best game of his career in this series. And once again, he's going to go home without that other trophy, that one that Kawhi Leonard took home.